Hey everyone, welcome back to John's Watch. Today I'm taking a look at a new game called Chronicles of the Wolf. This game was released on June 19th, 2025. Its regular price is $25.99 Canadian or regional equivalent, and it's developed by Megami Games and published by P-Cube and Pixel Heart. So this is from the same team as Castlevania the Lacard Chronicles, but it's a brand new game, but just obviously in the style of older Castlevania games. I'm sure I alluded to it in the title, but to me this really was a mixture of Castlevania Symphony of the Night and Castlevania 2, which is not a popular game, but I quite liked that one. This is really like Castlevania, as you'd expect from people who have worked on a Castlevania game. The movement, the jumping, the platforming, the attacking, the combat, it's literally right out of a Castlevania game. Instead of being a member of the Belmont family and hunting vampires, in Chronicles of the Wolf you play as Mateo Lombardo, who is a member of the Rose-Cross Order, and they are currently on the quest to hunt the infamous Beast of, apologies for this, Gévaudan. It's set in and around France, so there's tons of French names in the game, and despite living in Canada, I'm still not good at pronouncing French, so apologies. That's probably the only actual name I'll mention. But yeah, apologies for butchering any French. I would say that the game really is almost like 80% Castlevania 2, 20% Symphony of the Night. The only parts it takes from Symphony of the Night, and that is a Castlevania game I have not properly played yet. It's been on my playlist or my play later list for quite a long time. But I think what it takes from that game is the inventory system, leveling up. You don't level up stats yourself, but once you get enough experience by killing enemies, your character levels up and just gets a little bit stronger. But you're able to equip different weapons, different armor, different necklaces, different rings. And you're also able to go into your inventory and consume potions in there to heal, which is nice because, like I said, probably about 80% of the game does come from Castlevania 2, which is a very old school Castlevania game, where the only healing you got was wall chicken, and that was about it. So yeah, being able to, pause the game, go into your inventory and heal is very nice. In terms of Castlevania 2, its influences, that pretty much was the first Metroidvania. The very first Castlevania was pretty linear. You just kind of went from stage to stage, beating a boss at the end of them, and then you'd move on to the next stage. But Castlevania 2 was super open, and you ended up needing a lot of different items in order to progress. And there was a lot of backtracking, which is very like Metroidvania. And that's exactly how this game is. It's a little bit modernized, but not very much. We'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, you're pretty much constantly going into a sort of a mini dungeon, getting some kind of key item from there, and then maybe backtracking to a previous village and talking to someone there and showing them your item, and then they give you another item that lets you maybe backtrack to another village or something like that. And you're constantly unlocking new abilities, which obviously also help you backtrack, very Metroidvania style. In the last session I played, I unlocked the double jump ability, and I also unlocked a ground pound spell, which double jump I was obviously able to now reach ledges that I couldn't reach before, but the ground pound I was able to open up. Sometimes you would see little kind of bricks in the ground, and if you ground pound near them, it opens them up, and bam, you've got a new route open that you couldn't open before. And one of the about the halfway bosses, at least for my playtime, gave me a fireball spell, which I could then use to burn down, big tree branches that were previously blocking my way. So yeah, it really is 100% a Metroidvania. It's got the classic Metroidvania map, grid by grid. If you've played a Metroidvania, you know what the map is like, and this is exactly that. Like I said, the movement and everything really is straight out of Castlevania. I'm guessing the movement's probably a little bit more from Symphony of the Night inspired, but so yeah, the movement is super old school. you walk up steps to go to new locations and things like that. You can jump down between platforms to, drop down a lower level, that kind of thing. You've got a health bar, you've got a mana bar. You use your mana bar to either use those abilities that I mentioned before, like the ground pound or the fireball, and you can obviously use those in combat as well. But you can also use it to summon various spirits, ghosts that you find, and they're kind of helpers, and they each have different abilities. The first one you get, I think, gives you like extra defense for a little bit. The last one I unlocked would heal me whenever I summoned her, but I think she would take my entire mana bar. But having a little bit of healing is very nice. So on paper, this sounds like a game I should have absolutely loved. Castlevania 2 is honestly one of my favorite Castlevania games. I still think the original tops it for me, but honestly, Castlevania 2 is really close. I did play it with a walkthrough. That game is notoriously actually impossible in English without a walkthrough because of the poor translations. Made it so that if you were playing it blind, you would actually never figure out what you're supposed to do. And there's some really obscure things in that game, but it's very fun. But I played this for 3.5 hours, and pretty much the entire time after about the first 45 minutes, I was honestly on the verge of rage quitting, like, all the time. This game is very clever. It, has great inspirations, but it does so many things wrong. And yeah, by the end of my 3.5 hours, I just Alt F4'd, and I was like, I'm done with this. I need to record my video because I can't play any more of this. Obviously, because it's inspired by such old Castlevania games, it's a very old school style of game, and I think it goes too old school. It's old school to a fault. I saw one of the Steam reviews said like that the game went full retro, and you never go full retro because people have moved on from like the arcadey style games that were, when the first Castlevania games came out, video games were still relatively new, and they were mostly found in arcades, and games were made extremely difficult to try and get more money out of you in the arcades. And when arcade games, or just games in general, were brought to home consoles for the first time, they were still kept really hard because that's just what games were like. And they also obviously needed to pad the playtime a little bit. Like, if you know what you're doing in the first Castlevania game, you can, the speed run is literally like 8 minutes or something, but if you know what you're doing and you're decent at it, you can actually get through it in about 20 minutes. I think I've beaten the first Castlevania game in about 25 minutes. And this game is not as hard as the old Castlevania games, but it keeps a lot of aspects of the old games that really we've grown out of in the last 40 years. Probably the main thing is save points and just saving in general. The only way to save your game is at these statues that you find throughout the world, and they are very few and far between. Whenever you find one of these statues, it heals you up, and you like push up on the stick or up on the D-pad, and it'll save your game. The problem is there's no auto-saving outside of these save points, and if you die at any point, you just go back to your last save point. And I was constantly losing minutes of progress in what felt pretty unfair ways, usually. And it was just so frustrating, like no checkpoints or anything in dungeons. Like, if you died at any point in a dungeon, you would have to redo the entire thing all over again. And the dungeons weren't super long, but like I would regularly lose about 5 to 10 minutes of progress, and that just feels awful. All the menu and UI and the game as a whole just feels super old school. Bafflingly, there is no volume or audio options in the game, and it was just blaring when I started it up. So literally the only way I was able to lower the volume was in the Windows volume mixer, and just lower the volume for that specific program. Again, baffling that there's no audio settings in this game. There's hardly any settings at all. It's not at a perfect 16:9 aspect ratio, so if you're watching the video, you'll see a couple of black bars on the left and right sides of the screen. You can only choose between windowed mode and full screen mode. Windowed mode was absolutely tiny, and full screen mode, a lot of the text and stuff does actually look pretty blurry, like it wasn't meant to be played that full screen. There's no way to do anything with the frame rate. Luckily it is at 60 FPS, but you know me, I always like options to pop that up closer to 180. But yeah, no way to do that in this game. Not the end of the world for such a retro style game, but I always like to see it. It's just not in this one. The default controls are, again, quite baffling. I mean, you know, jump on A, attack on X, that's pretty standard. But to open up the map was on right trigger, I think it was. And to open up the start menu to access your inventory or whatever, your equipment, was on left trigger, which was very, very strange. I didn't realize until my last session with the game that you could actually rebind those. When I went to rebind them, I was like, you know, map on select, options on start, that's pretty standard. And for some reason, the game didn't, or it recognized my button inputs but reversed them. So it put map on start and options on select. So I had to go back and rebind them again, but like push the wrong buttons to make sure they'd be on the right buttons when I got back into the game. Just weird stuff. There's also such a huge delay between like pressing the options button or the map button and it showing up. Like you get like a 2 or 3 seconds of black screen or something every time you want to check your map. It just doesn't feel seamless at all. And it's a Metroidvania, you're going to be checking your map pretty much constantly. And it just always feels awful when you have to check your map and you just have to wait forever for it to load. You know, in the grand scheme of things, obviously 2 seconds isn't that long a time, but when you're opening the map multiple times, it definitely adds up, and it just feels bad. It just feels very low budget to have such unresponsive menus. I did think that some of the controls and just various parts of the game, kind of in tandem to what I was just talking about, felt quite sluggish and unresponsive. With certain melee weapons, you're able to, if you crouch and aim diagonally, you can attack diagonally downwards towards the ground, which is very useful if, you know, you're being attacked by a snake or something, which does happen. But I found that attack especially was so unresponsive. I was regularly, you know, trying to kill snakes, and I'm just constantly jabbing over their heads as they're running around and nipping at my ankles and poisoning me. Yeah, that felt super unresponsive. You're able to, if you hold down and press A, you're able to like dash slide. I felt that was also very unresponsive as well. You know, to go fast, you want to kind of like hold down and then mash A to go fast, but there was always such a delay between like one dash ending and the next dash starting. Just again, added to the very sluggish, unresponsive feel of the controls. Something I should mention is that the game is controller only, no keyboard mouse support at all, and even in my Steam library it actually pops up. I've never seen this on a game before, but maybe this is a new Steam feature. It actually has a controller required button in my Steam library, and on the store page, which is very, very good. Just another annoyance when you start up the game and you want to continue from where you were playing last. They just make it a little bit more annoying when you start up the game. By default, your cursor's over new game. So if you're mashing A to get through all the logos, because of course there's a lot of logos, typically when you mash A, you just keep going on the menu and bam, you'll eventually hit continue. Not on this one, you have to mash A, then accidentally hit new game, and then have to like Alt F4 and restart the game, because you can't back out of new game once you've got into it. Just another minor annoyance. Some of the platforming sections are so obnoxious as well. Like I'll have this one on screen right now, but this one almost made me rage quit. I think I made it another like 20 minutes after this one, but like the platforming was so precise and there were just constant enemies spawning, just to make it that little bit more annoying. So yeah, this was a game that I was very, very interested in, and I think if it had quite a bit more polish, I would have really enjoyed this because, like I said, I'm a big Castlevania fan, especially of the old school ones. Really like Castlevania 2, and this one is very, very inspired by Castlevania 2. But yeah, there were just so many little quality of life things that were missing, and too many retro inspirations without modernizing and iterating on them to make it feel like a better game to play. That yeah, I'm not gonna play any more of it, sadly. Having said all that, it's currently sitting at mostly positive reviews on Steam. It's 72% are positive. So if all the complaints that I just made don't really bother you, if you still enjoy the super retro style games without the modern trappings, you might enjoy Chronicles of the Wolf. I did want to say that you're guaranteed an achievement very early on for beating the first boss, and that achievement has 90.8% of players have got it already. And then I only got 3 achievements, and so the next 2 achievements I got, only 24% and 15% of players had got those. So I do think probably a lot of people bounced off this within 2 hours. It starts off very cool, but yeah, I think within the 2 hours you can pretty quickly see whether it's going to be for you or not, and I imagine a lot of people probably got put off by how frustrating it could be. Anyway, there you go, that was my thoughts on Chronicles of the Wolf. Thank you guys very much for watching, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!